Welcome to the Just Jim Radio Show. Here, as we do weekly, giving you what information, inspiration, a little bit of fun, some ideas to help open your mind and your heart and bring some inspiration into your life to make a difference, to bring who you are into the world in a different way, more fulfilling and more free. Today we're going to be talking with BRENDA VIOLA, an author of a brand new book, The Public Servant's Survival Guide, 10 Keys to Reclaim Your Joy in Work and Life While Doing What You Love. Wow, that is a mouthful, Brenda, isn't it?
It sure is, but it says it because we're all serving someone, aren't we?
We are all serving someone. You have quite a background here, a former news anchor, QVC show host, PR marketing pro, diverse and fulfilling professional path, that's for sure. Award-winning, it's easy for you to say, award-winning public information officer for a first-ring suburb of Philadelphia. And that spurred the creation of municipal education seminars, professional skill development and personal growth initiative company that helps government workers reclaim the joy of public service while avoiding burnout. That's an important one. And that's where this book came from. It released for the government management books on January 11th, 2020, brand new, and is creating a ripple effect and interest well beyond the public sector. For that, we're very grateful. Brenda is not speaking at a conference or posting inspirational messages on her 10,000 plus member Facebook page at Brenda Viola 722. She's singing bad karaoke at the Gulf Gate Moose Lodge in Sarasota, Florida, where she resides. She soaks up the year-round sunshine, enjoys a close-knit community of good friends, and relishes her downtime, enjoying a good book, or don her helmet and join her favorite guy, Mark, on his Harley Davidson. My gosh, Brenda, you're just very, very busy, are you not?
Life is meant to be lived fully, and we are here for a finite amount of time until we are infinite. So let's have fun while we're doing it, and let's have joy and balance and really live this thing called life. That's the way I feel about it.
Yeah, reclaim that joy in your work too and live the life that you doing what you love. I mean, that's where the book came from, you being who you are, and then coming into sharing this through the written word, which is always a very powerful thing to do.
Yeah, I worked for 10 years, as you said in the introduction, and thanks for reading that whole introduction. That was
are you kidding? Absolutely.
I got tired just hearing it, but I worked for 10 years shoulder to shoulder with the unsung heroes of our communities, the firefighters, the city clerks, the building and planning inspectors, police, of course, librarians. And one thing I noticed is these people pour their heart and souls into their work and often neglect themselves. And I think that goes beyond even public servants. So many times we don't take a moment to reflect and see where we might be off course. And so I would be doing these speaking engagements to encourage our public servants, and they would always come up to me afterwards, so can I buy your book? And I always had to say, no. And then finally I realized I needed to put some of the things that I've learned in the trenches to paper. And that's why it's just so exciting, because really the heartbeat, it's a love letter to anyone that serves, and to encourage them to take care of themselves first so they can take care of other people.
It's so beautiful to hear and feel who you are just in the words that you share, not the words as much as the energy of who you are and the way that you live your life. It just shows how you bring what you're bringing to these words, to this book, and the reason why it's there. It's not more information without inspiration. It's not just a guide. It's really, truly an awakening, an invoking, an initializing kind of energy to bring, as you say, joy, and to bring love into your work and into your life. And I would suspect that information and that inspiration that you bring through this written word you're sharing with the world can really apply to anyone, although it's focused at public servants.
Well, it's funny that you should mention that because this weekend I went, as you said, I love to go to the Gulf Gate Moose Lodge and sing bad karaoke every Friday night. And I walk, and when I say bad, I mean bad, but these are kind people. They clap regardless. So I love it. And I went in, and the bartender, now I don't even drink, but I always go and get my seltzer, and she's the nicest lady on earth. And I walk in, and she's holding up my book. And really, who serves the public more than those waiters and waitresses and the people behind the bar? You know, it's resonating far beyond just the public sector. And it was meant for anybody who realizes that they've been neglecting themselves and they need to take care of themselves.
Gosh, we all have that challenge every day. We've got so many things going on we're trying to take care of and do, and whether we're serving in the public or we're just trying to take care of our family or our own situation in our lives, there's so many things that we can do to make a difference. You write about 10 keys to find balance, which is so important in life, and that the reader actually grades themselves on each. Why is that?
Well, because it makes you and forces the reader to say, okay, well, how am I doing on this? And it's funny because I had someone say, well, wouldn't it be good to give those 10 keys to a colleague or a trusted friend and have them grade me because they can be objective? And I said, well, you could do that, but I don't recommend it because nobody knows you more than you. And really, these are deeply personal keys that you've got to be honest with yourself about. One of the keys that I give is everything in life is between you and you. That person may be annoying you on the other side of the desk or cubicle, but really what's going on is between you and you. Only you know if you've been drinking that, well, it started out as a couple glasses and now it's a full bottle of wine every night just to cope with life. Only you know if you're cranky with your spouse or best friend because you're not getting enough sleep at night. So these are an opportunity for you to, it's like the check engine light. And we don't have one in our humanity. So the book helps you check your engine light and see where you're off course and help you course correct.
I speak with my mother every day, and she's 85 now, and I had the same kind of a situation with her on a more personal level. She'll be talking to me, and we have a good conversation because we know each other, and we live a life that's similar in this being aware and making difference and making changes. And she'll say, you know, I'm confused. I said, well, Mom, what are you confused about? She says, I don't know. I said, Mom, who would if you don't? and like you said, and she'd stop and go, oh. And it's so true. The mirror reveals so much, and we're so busy going in so many different directions, it can be challenging to stop long enough to take a look in it. And when we do, we're able to see our truth, not what the truth tells us, the world tells us our truth is, or something we're trying to keep up with. But like you said, it's between me and me.
I think one of the aha moments I had in life was to stop being so frustrated that people didn't understand me. People weren't listening to me. I wasn't being heard. Everybody wants to feel like they matter. And I had to strip away all the BS and get back to, wait a minute, am I understanding me? Am I loving me? Do I matter to me? And if you settle those core things, you'll find your whole life, the paradigm shift will change and the ripple effect will happen. And all those things that have seemed elusive will come to you because you are doing the foundational thing, which is taking the time to love and understand yourself.
So you referenced the classic story of the tortoise and the hare. What is that in relationship to your book and what you're trying to portray?
Well, each of the points, the 10 keys, and I changed tortoise to turtle, spell out turtle and hare. And so it's an easy way to remember the keys, but also when we look at our lives, don't we, and I know you don't want to categorize people, but oftentimes they fit into two buckets. They're either the turtles, the slow and deliberate, thoughtful and steady people, who end up at the finish line maybe a little slower, but man, they've got their T's crossed and their I's dotted. And then you have people like me, which tend to be the hare, the bunny rabbit. I will race to the finish line. My flashes of brilliance will create electricity in a meeting or a gathering, but then I'll get to the finish line and it'll be like, oh, now that I'm here, what do I do? And the whole premise of the book is if we could get that tortoise and the hare to work together, what an unstoppable duo they could be, and creating the priority of teamwork and realizing you don't have to have it all. You may be that hare, but to gather the intellect and the wisdom and what the tortoise brings to the table that you don't have, and together magic can happen.
That balance we're always looking for in our life of the two different extremes of who we can be brought to that center point of being that which can make a difference. So you have you said 10 keys in your book?
Yeah, there are 10, and there are a few that are my favorites. And I think I have to say, one of them, which is one that I've been working on for the last 56 years, is lightening up levity. We don't laugh enough, and we don't laugh enough at ourselves. And the reason why is because we're just so afraid of appearing imperfect. And one of the things that I encourage people is, yes, you are flawed, but you're awesome. You're flawsome. So embrace your flawsomeness in life. I tell a story about my very first day on the job. I so wanted to make a good impression. I was all dressed up. I had my spike heels on and I was dressed to the nines, and I was walking to the front door of my new building, and I saw a bunch of public works workers out in the parking lot. So as if I was stumping for votes, I went around, hey, I'm Brenda. Oh, I'm your new public information officer. And I was shaking hands, and they were all sort of looking at me like I had 3 heads. And they kept looking at me like I had 3 heads. And then I started to realize, is something wrong here? And I looked down, and while I was so busy winning friends and influencing people, I failed to realize that they were pouring concrete, and I had stepped into the cement in my spike heels and was sinking as I was saying hello to them. And in that moment, do you feel my pain, Jim?
I do. I feel your
Okay.
pain.
So in that moment, I could either have burst into tears and made everybody completely uncomfortable, and I had a flash of sanity and said, you know what? If I can laugh at myself here, I can make friends with all of these guys and start off on the right foot. And I laughed, and they all laughed, and they helped me get out of the cement, and they helped me wash my shoes off. And 10 years later, when I left that position, they walked into my office one by one and said, you remember that day? And so often the things that go wrong make the best stories. If you think, will this really matter in 5 years? Can I laugh at it and not take it so seriously? And find the levity in those moments. It builds bridges between people and is a bridge over troubled water.
And we know physiologically, laughter loosens the muscles around our organs and the systems of our body, allows us to be more open in our emotional body. It allows us to feel more fully. It sets our mind free to be more clear and more open. It releases all kinds of chemicals in our body to be able to be more whole and free. It's just wonderful what levity or laughter or taking things lighter can make a difference in our lives. That's obviously good for everybody. What about the heart? You've got a focus on that. How do you explain that?
So I call heart, because remember, this is checkpoints so that you don't burn out in your profession, whatever it may be. And I call heart where your love for the work resides. When I started out in my position, I had so much heart for it. I knew that I was a communicator, and so I could use my gifts to communicate to the 56,000 citizens that lived in this town. And I found, though, as time went on,